So there seems to be only one way of singing the phrase caught in the middle in pop music.
Caught in the middle. 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 Caught in the middle.
And now that you have heard it, I am so sorry, but you cannot unhear it, and you are doomed with this information from now until the end of time. This was humorously pointed out by Theo Mylan and their band on social media.
Why is there only one way to sing Caught in the Middle?
But I do want to spend some time answering that question today using music theory and a little bit of linguistics, because it is a bit uncanny, right? It seems like the cultural Ouroboros, doomed to eat itself over and over again, has spit back a very particular musical phrase. This phrase consists of an 8th note followed by 2 16th notes, followed by a metrically stressed 16th note and a final dotted 8th note. The phrase spans the diatonic half step between scale degrees 4 and 3 in major keys, like in A1's Caught in the Middle,
Caught in the middle.
or London Grammar's Strong,
Down caught in the middle.
or it's positioned on the diatonic half step between flat 6 and 5 in minor keys. It's also frequently used at the ends of phrases in minor keys as a Picardy third between the 4 and the natural 3, like in Walking Separate Ways by Conditions.
I feel caught in the middle.
Now, when you start looking for this phrase, you find many other interpretations with slightly different pitch content. For example, Paramore places the phrase on the whole step between degrees 6 and 5 in a major key.
I'm just a little bit caught in the middle.
Royal Blood places it between flat 3 and 1.
You're caught in the middle.
Periphery's Atropos has a descending major scale melodic interpretation over heavy gent riffs.
We're caught in the middle.
And Anastasia's Caught in the Middle has this nice up and down arc.
You got me caught in the middle.
Some tunes resolve the phrase up instead of down, like Charlie XCX's Caught in the Middle,
Caught in the middle.
Between You and Me's In the Middle,
Caught in the middle.
and Seth Hill's The Middle.
Caught in the middle.
COD in the minnow, indeed. The show by Lenka has swung 16th notes, so da 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 versus da daka daka.
Caught in the middle.
But the general stress pattern is the same, and there are tunes that use the idea even if the lyrics are not exactly the same.
Stop, I'll be in the middle. You tell myself stuck in the middle.
Now, why is this happening? Why is this such a popular trope? Well, I can think of two reasons right off the bat. The first is tone painting, and the second is prosody. Tone painting, sometimes called word painting, is when music is used to evoke a lyric's meaning. So for example, the music stops on the word stop. So if you go back and forth between two pitches on a static chord, chances are you're going back and forth between a dissonance and a consonance, 4 and 3, flat 6 and 5. And that might make you feel in a very real way, both musical and lyrically, caught in the middle between two very real musical sensations of dissonance and consonance. The rhythmic placement of this phrase is almost always on beats 3 and 4, usually at some kind of structural climax in the form of the song. This creates a lot of forward momentum. The tension hasn't fully been resolved. In the words of Yip Harlberg, music makes you feel feelings, words make you think thoughts, but songs make you feel thoughts. And that general back and forth between two pitches that we see in most of these examples, as well as the rhythmic placement, makes you feel the thought of being caught in the middle between two musical worlds. Now, the second reason why we hear it so much is prosody, the natural rhythm and intonation that goes along with language. Like when we're talking, we naturally will organize syllables into strong syllables and weak syllables. So the phrase caught in the middle is strong, weak, weak, strong, weak. The traditional name for this pattern is a dactyl, strong, weak, weak, followed by a trochee, strong, weak. Out of the cradle, endlessly rocking is the start of a poem by Walt Whitman that follows this same dactyl trochee pattern. Now, if you go against the natural stress patterns inherent in language when you are writing a song, it can sound a bit strange. Prosodic dissonance is a term used by music theorist Aaron Smith to describe what happens when you break the natural prosody of speech in songwriting. A prime example of prosodic dissonance is how Katy Perry sings the word unconditionally in the song of the same name. Nothing is melodically dissonant, but unconditionally feels very prosodically dissonant. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't match the natural flow of my speaking voice. Prosodic dissonance isn't necessarily bad, though. It can be used creatively. Like the word compression normally has the stress on the second syllable, but listen to how Janelle Monáe sings it in her song Make Me Feel.
Should know by the way I use my compression.
Yes, compression.
Compression.
Putting the emphasis on the first syllable makes the word significantly more dirty than it was before. That's the power of prosodic dissonance.
My compression.
Anyway, the broader point here is most songwriters avoid prosodic dissonance if they can help it, if there isn't a good reason to go against the grain. And so most phrases, when you place them in songs, match the natural cadence of the language to which they belong. Caught in the middle matches how I would say that naturally in my speaking voice. But you know, what's fascinating about all of this is that all of the examples that I've played for you so far in this video have just been from the past 20 years. Older examples of the phrase in songs do exist, but do not actually match this rhythm. Consider, of course, Rodney James Dio's Caught in the Middle. The word middle here is syncopated over the bar line, but otherwise caught and mid are in clear points of stress, fitting the expected prosody. Dio also, by the way, seems to be the only person to pronounce the T in caught. Caught in the middle. Caught in the middle. Which is, I don't know, it gives it a nice energy. There are actually quite a few metal songs called Caught in the Middle, like the one by Stryper. Or consider Yngwie Malmsteen's Caught in the Middle. There are a couple songs that flatten the syllables to all the same note length. On the other side, it can also be much more syncopated. Anyway, all of these examples use very different rhythmic schemes and different melodic schemes than what has happened in the past 20 years, which I find very interesting because English itself hasn't changed in the past 20 years, but it seems like this has. What happened? Well, I can think of three reasons off the bat. The first is the rise of the Scotch snap. Trochees, patterns of strong and weak, can sometimes in English have a very short stressed syllable. The first syllable in middle is very quick compared to the longer first syllable of jumping. When you render short first syllable trochees into music, it creates this rhythm known as the Scotch snap, a 16th note followed by a dotted 8th note. This is called the Scotch snap because historically it's been associated with Scottish music and Scottish accents. But its irresistibly bouncy rhythm and how it just works really nice with the English language has made it so that it's become very popular in hip hop and pop music in the past 10, 15 years or so.
Pretty boy swag.
If I'm shining, everybody gonna shine.
I like it, I want it, I got it, yeah. Stay in the middle, like you're a little bit caught in the middle.
Now, the rise of this particular phrasing of caught in the middle, with that Scotch snap on the word middle, perfectly coincides with the rise of the Scotch snap more broadly in popular music. And so I think it's safe to assume they're correlated in some way because you didn't see that Scotch snap interpretation of the word middle in any of the earlier examples. The second reason why we're seeing this newer phrasing, I think, is because English actually has changed a bit in the past 20 years. There is a phenomenon where English speakers have started pronouncing these two words as homophones. Traditionally, they're pronounced more as cot and caught, but with newer generations, like for myself, honestly, they're just both caught. With this Cot-Caught merger, or Cot-Caught, I have to really think about it if I'm going to try to pronounce them differently, the vowel for this word becomes more open, and thus potentially a little bit easier to sing. Singers from the past would probably elect to open the vowel for this word anyway, but it is worth mentioning that this is a particular phenomenon for the particular word in the phrase that we are studying. So anyway, the third reason I think is that, well, the phrase caught in the middle has actually become quite a bit more popular in the English language of the past 20 years. And so it's more likely that ways of singing and speaking it have become homogenized. If you keep hearing a phrase said or spoken or sung a certain way, the more likely it will be that it comes out naturally when you sit down to put that phrase to paper when you're writing a song. If you match your audience's expectations of how a phrase should sound, it will be easier for them to connect to whatever emotion you're trying to convey through your lyrics. If you try to fight that, you will be caught in the middle between meeting expectations and subverting them. Anyway, if you guys know of any songs that I may have missed, please let me know in the comments, and also please let me know in person. My band Sungazer is doing shows on the West Coast in Salt Lake City, Boise, Portland, Vancouver, Seattle, and Sacramento with Sirentip as support, and then San Francisco, LA, San Diego, Phoenix, Santa Fe, and Denver with Evan Marion and Dana Hawkins as support. We'll be shredding with the one and only Button Masher on these dates. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of notes, a lot of jazz fusion. We're also going to be doing some special VIP Q&A masterclasses before a few of these shows. So if you want to talk some music theory and stuff, we're going to be going over how we put together our songs and, you know, just hanging out and talking about music and life and all those good things with people. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you've been waiting for me to mention that song from Reservoir Dogs, that's actually not Caught in the Middle, that's Stuck in the Middle.
Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Different song, different title, different thing entirely. So please leave your hate comments before you've watched the whole video. It feeds me, it feeds the algorithm. It's dirty, leaving it at the very end. Anyway, thanks guys so much for watching. Until next time.
You call